Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that just crossed the 500th episode mark. Rather impressive. That's right, I'm talking about The Challenge, Season 37, Spies, Lies, and Allies, Episode 12. And I'm not going to get too deep into my own opinions. I'm going to save most of that for Tiny Table Talk, but I will give a smidgen of my opinion. And for a 500th episode, I thought that this episode was rather lackluster and very predictable. Again, I'm not going to get too deep in this video about my opinion on every little thing. That is going to be saved up for Tiny Table Talk. But let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Kyle winning against Ed in the pole wrestle elimination, swapping teams with Nelson. So coming into this episode, we had Nelson on the Ruby team and Kyle on the Sapphire team. Once back at the Challenge House, everyone was congratulating Kyle for winning his pole wrestle against Ed. Everyone, that is, except for Nelson, who gets into a very big argument with Kyle, calling Kyle a snake, and they're going forehead to forehead. Production and security had to get involved, separate them. Once they were separated, Nelson went over to talk to Corey about, hey, this isn't about being on your team. I'm not upset about going away from Sapphire and having to work with you. I'm more upset because I thought Kyle and I were friends. I wish he would have gave me like a heads up that he was going to take my spot and swap teams with me. On last week's Aftermath, Kyle mentioned that he didn't know that he would have to like swap places with somebody. He thought once he won against Ed, he could slide into Ed's spot. So I don't think he could have given you a heads up because he didn't know the basic mechanics of this format. Speaking of Kyle, Big T goes to check up on him, and that's when Kyle's like, I don't care what Nelson thinks. Kyle says that he has to do what's best for his game, and that was coming over to the Sapphire team to be with CT. As Kyle is talking about wanting to be on the Sapphire team with CT, CT is still talking about how he doesn't know how much he can trust or work with Kyle moving forward in this game. Speaking of CT, we move on to the next morning where he's having a meeting with Emmy, and he's talking about how, hey, Emmy, I want you to send yourself into the elimination or get sent into the elimination so that way you can come over to the Sapphire team. CT is talking about how he feels that Bettina and Amanda are super weak and he wants Emmy on the team to make them a strong team. Speaking of the Sapphire women, Amanda and Ashley are talking with Josh in a room about strategizing for this next week's vote, and because it's a Women's Day, and this is where Amanda is like, look, I heard Emmy was talking mad trash about Bettina. She wants to take Bettina out herself. Let's just make Emmy the house vote. She'll pick Bettina. Emmy will win and then infiltrate the Sapphire team because she wants to be with Uncle CT. This strategy got me all types of confused throughout the episode while I was thinking about it, because if Emmy is the house vote, picks Bettina, sends her home, and then infiltrates the Sapphire team, that means she's picking either Amanda or Ashley to swap teams to send them to the Ruby team. Yet both of them seem to be fine with that plan. I don't understand. Do they not want to be on the same team with each other? Does either one of them want to be on the Ruby team? While they're having this conversation though, Bettina overhears, gets pretty upset. She goes outside where Corey consoles her and tries to give her some advice like, look, everything's okay, you still got a friend in me, and Bettina knows that the writing is on the wall. She is most likely going to be sent into this week's elimination, whether she is the house vote or somebody who was the house vote is going to pick her, unless the Sapphire team can win this week's daily mission. Speaking of the daily challenge, let's go to meet TJ in the field where he's excited to announce that this is the 500th episode of the challenge, and they got a headbanger for this week's daily mission called Brush Contact. In this week's mission, teams are going to have to transfer their money bags from one end of the field to the other. First up is the men, who are going to take it halfway up the field, then transfer it to the women, who are going to take it the rest of the way. The team that can transfer the most money bags to their end zone wins. There is one caveat in this week's mission, and that is one team is going to be playing defense, trying to stop you from transferring your bags. This mission is going to be played in 3 rounds, so every team is going to have 1 shot on offense and 1 shot on defense. Round 1, we have on offense Emerald, and on defense Sapphire team. And just like last week's mission, there is no sitting out, so teams with 1 less player are going to be at a disadvantage. Easily the highlight of this mission was Josh giving Kyle the stiff arm on his way to transferring his bag to their women on the Emerald team. All the men on the Emerald team transfer their bags and get past CT and Kyle, and then Casey and Tori easily score their points, so they have $8,000 while Nani gets tackled and then steps out of bounds, so her bags were disqualified, but they get $8,000 out of a total of $10,000, near perfect round. In my brain, I'm going, okay, so the Emerald team wins. They have the most players, they still have a shot on defense, and basically, I was right. We move on to round 2, where the offense is Sapphire, defense is Ruby, and the Ruby team has 3 guys going up against CT and Kyle, and so Logan and Nelson are able to corral and usher out CT, double team him to get him out of bounds, making his bags non-existent, while on the other side of the field, Kyle's able to get away from Corey, which shocked me, but Kyle's able to get away and transfer his bag, but luckily there are extra bags in the middle, just in case this happened where only one bag was going to be able to get transferred, and then it wasn't just like one person having to try to transfer and be at a severe disadvantage. So there's extra money bags in the middle of the field, so all the women on the Sapphire team get money bags. Big T tackles Ashley and ushers her out of bounds, rendering her bags useless. Emmy tackles Amanda, and Bettina goes unscathed as she scores her $3,000 bag. And then there was no other bags to be scored, as Emmy gives Bettina a nice foot to the throat as she was trying to help out Amanda, but they were unable to. Their bag was seized, and so they end the round with a total of $3,000. Emerald is in the driver's seat, where there's only one team left, and that is the Ruby team on offense, going up against the defense of the Emerald team, and they are at a severe disadvantage on the back half, at least, because it is going to be 3 tough Emerald women going up against Emmy and Big T. The men do a good job as Nelson and Corey score their bags, and then they had this plan of like Logan, because he's injured, was going to try to throw the bag to either Corey or Nelson because he couldn't really run it. So instead of like 2 guys trying to tackle Logan at once and get his bag away from him, they just let him like keep on scooting up, and then he throws a very nice pass to Corey, who was doing the slant route. He catches it, gets into the end zone. However, there is this rule that you have to walk the bag across the line from the safety zone, which that wasn't necessarily said in the rules when TJ was giving him. He just said all bags that make it across to the safe zone will count, which is a critique that I will say that the challenge should have made TJ ADR a set of clear rules going into this, for at least the audience, because it was clear to everyone else who was actually playing the game, because Devin called it out right away. It doesn't really matter because, like I said, for the Sapphire team, there was extra money bags in the middle of the field. Emmy and Big T head out, and they're easily tackled. Emmy has her bag seized, then both Tori and Nani go to help Casey, just gang up on Big T, rip her bags away, and they get a big old goose egg. So Emerald wins this rather handily. They are the agency yet again. We move back to the house where Emerald is celebrating their 3rd victory in a row, and then we have a little conversation between Bettina and Tori, where Bettina is trying to sell why she should be the house vote. She's like, I just want to have my own fate in my own hands. I would like to have the opportunity to pick who I want to go up against, and you have nothing to worry about, because if I win, I will not infiltrate the Emerald team. Tori says, I'll put it in the memo and we'll talk about it at the next Emerald deliberation. Everyone gets dressed up. They head to the club, and at the club, we see Kyle and Nelson bury the hatchet. Kyle apologizes for quote-unquote being a snake and blindsiding Nelson, even though Kyle doesn't mean it, and Kyle frankly doesn't need to apologize for playing the game and doing what's best for his game. To me, this whole fight and beef was just like ridiculous. I didn't even think Kyle and Nelson were even that close with each other on the season, to be honest. Now at this point, everyone seems to know that Bettina is going to be the Emerald vote, so her own team is asking, who is she going to pick? Are you going to pick Amanda to be in the elimination with you? And Bettina tells them her strategy, and her strategy is that if it's a puzzle, she's going to pick Emmy. If it's something physical, she'll pick Big T. But Amanda is like, no, I don't think that's the truth, and so I'm going to start stirring the pot. So Amanda goes up to Emmy to say everything that Bettina just said to her, and it gets Emmy upset. And Bettina and Emmy have a conversation, which leads to Bettina leaving the conversation mid sentence, and then Emmy is just like going off in the club. She is yelling at everybody. She's yelling over and over and over again that she is done. Let's jump to the next morning where Corey and Bettina are talking, and Corey was like talking about what happened the night before. And then Corey is like, you got to get focused, go into the deliberation, sell yourself on being the house vote, and do whatever you can to put yourself in a good position to come back from this elimination. Amanda goes on the defensive and starts wearing all green clothing and goes up to Devin trying to like psych him out and scare him that, hey, if you send in Bettina, there's a shot that she's going to call me down to the elimination grounds. Like, Bettina's a layup. I'm going to win, and then I'm not going to stay with Sapphire. I'm going to go to the Emerald team. And so this gets the whole Emerald team shaking and scared that their precious six will be infiltrated. So the whole team goes to talk to Emmy to convince her to be the house vote, that she wants to be the house vote. It's not like they sent one person to talk to her, like, hey, let's send Emmanuel to talk to her and try to convince her to be the house vote, or let's send Uncle CT to talk to her. No, they send the whole Emerald team, and by the end of their conversation, Emmy's like, yeah, I can be the house vote. Yeah, I want to be the house vote. So we move on to the deliberation, which, are we still having this deliberation? We know exactly what's going to happen. This was all redundant. This deliberation was like the last paragraph, the conclusion paragraph in like a high school science fair project where it just summarizes the whole paper, because they just go over the same points that we just saw everybody talk about. Bettina starts everything off saying like, hey, I want to be the house vote. I want to take my fate in my own hands, and I will stay on the Sapphire team. You have nothing to worry about, which was everything she said already to Tori in their little conversation before heading to the club. Then Amanda speaks about how she was wearing green all day, and that if she gets called down and wins, she might not stay with the Sapphire team, which is the conversation we saw her have with Devin earlier. And then Emmy talks about, hey, I heard that Bettina's plan was to pick me if there was a puzzle. I want to be the house vote. I want to have all the options, which we knew that Emmy was going to be the house vote because of everything that we just saw 2 minutes coming into the deliberation, but we still had like a 5 to 10 minute deliberation going over all the points that we already just saw. Emerald gets to their vote, and they vote in Emmy into the elimination. We move past that to see Tori talking to Bettina, and she's doing some damage control, saying that all the guys were scared because Amanda was wearing a green shirt all day. That's right, you heard that correctly. They were scared because Amanda was wearing a green shirt all day. Oh boy. Bettina is feeling defeated, which is a foreshadow of what's going to happen in the elimination. We move on to CT giving some strategy to Emmy, saying, hey, I'm just going to let you know that you should pick either Big T or Amanda. And he's really pushing Emmy to pick Big T to go up in the elimination because there's only 2 rookie women left. And he's saying, hey, if there's going to be another Women's Day, which there will be, you would want a buffer. So keep Bettina in the game, because if next women's elimination, if you're still here and we don't win, like Sapphire is not in the agency, you're probably going to get voted in because you're a rookie. Keep Bettina in the game, go up against Big T. Once you win, swap spots with Bettina, be on the Sapphire team, and hopefully you won't have to worry about it. But if you do, Bettina is still there. She could be the house vote, and if she picks you, you can probably win against her. And if you're the house vote, you can just pick Bettina. It's simple as that. Emmy says, I'll think about it. Let me see what's going to be in the elimination. We move on to the lair where TJ is there. We see this giant rocket, which was in the mid-season trailer, so we know exactly what's going to happen and who Emmy is going to pick. But TJ calls down Emmy to join him on the lair grounds. She does. She then picks Bettina as her opponent, and TJ says that they're going to play this elimination called Bombs Away, which I swear they've used that title for different games over the past 3 seasons. If they have not, then missed opportunity, because they should have named this something completely different, like Rocket Target or Target Practice, Rocket to the Moon. Bet you don't missile? Try not to missile. That's what it should have been called. This elimination is exactly what it looks like. You try to use your rocket as a battering ram to knock down all 5 of your targets. The first person to knock down all their targets wins, stay in the game, and can make a decision. This elimination was not my favorite. It was very lackluster, it was very boring, it was very lopsided, and you can tell that they didn't have a lot of good camera angles. Nothing really happened in this elimination because they kept on cutting into every single person having a confessional during this elimination. Like, everyone had one. Emmy, Bettina, everyone off Ruby, everyone off Sapphire, everyone on Emerald was piping in. They were just putting confessional after confessional while we were watching these ladies just try to get enough momentum and to keep this rocket on focus and on target. It was ridiculous. Emmy wins 5-0. Like, this was so lopsided. Bettina got no targets. Bettina is sent out of here. Emmy is staying in this game. Of course, she's going to infiltrate Sapphire team. She swaps places with Amanda. So Amanda is now on the Ruby team. Emmy is on the Sapphire team. And now everyone is shaking in their boots about the Sapphire foursome, and I hope this is foreshadowing that next episode that Sapphire will win to finally put Emerald in the hot seat. But we're gonna have to wait. What's gonna happen? What'd you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. What'd you think about this daily mission? What'd you think about this elimination? What do you think about everybody's strategies going on? Let me know anything and everything you thought about this episode down in the comment section below. And for the 500th episode, what would you rank this out of 10? 10 being the most entertaining to 1 being pretty daggone boring. Let me know that in the comment section below. I would give this a 5 at best. At its peak, this episode was just fine. But I'll get into all the critiques of this elimination, daily challenge, and questioning the strategies of the Emerald team, and what are the motives of everyone still left in this game. I'll get into all of that in Tiny Table Talk. And speaking of Tiny Table Talk, I will be taking a good amount of comments from this video's comment section, so leave me any and all comments you thought about this episode in particular. But that is it for this video. I'll be back with more Challenge 37 content, more challenge content, more content in general, but until then, peace.